it's Sarah from the support worker store. Today I've got Michael Clarke. Ta-da!
So glad to be here. It is an absolute joy, Sarah, because I know that your crew are changing the world, so I get to hang out with some world changers today.
Well, the best thing about today is that I get to introduce people to you. So we're just going to go running. We're just going to hit the ground and we're going to go running. So, Michael, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I've got my kids are 12 and 14, and my kids are pretty average kids, And so I spend a lot of time with them kicking a ball around on the road with my son. That sounds really bad, but it's a very quiet road. Or going with my daughter to have a coffee and listen to her talk for a long time and just listen like a dad should listen. And with my wife, once a week we go out for dinner, we leave the kids at home, we just remember that we're actually married and just enjoy life, you know what I mean? But my kids are very standard kids, it's like they came straight off the shelf at Woolies in a lot of ways. But your support workers are doing amazing things in the community, and I actually work with a lot of parents in my job who have kids who are not as easy to work with, and they tell me about the impact on their kids' lives that the support workers are having. And it's mind-blowing. And they never say that to the support worker. They may give feedback to the company, but the support workers think that what they're doing is not being noticed. And I just think that's not true at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we get to have this conversation and all that in between, because to get where you are now, what did you do before you entered the NDIS space?
I was a school teacher for nearly 20 years. So when you're a school teacher, primary school teacher, you're always looking out for those kids who are just having a hard time.
Yeah.
Because the kids who are doing great in a class, they don't need you. They've always got high maintenance parents who you have to keep happy, but you can solve that with some emails. But the kids who sit there for 5 or 6 hours a day feeling silly, that's what motivates me. So again, that's probably how a lot of your support workers think. And I find that exciting that kids who start the year feeling like, I don't have what it takes, can end the year after a year with you realising they've got much more in the tank than they can ever realise. After that, I started working with children who have autism, ran a whole heap of online social skills support for kids with autism, and I realised that pretty much any young person can thrive if they've got the right support. Yep. And that right support would be quality people who care, quality people who understand whatever they're facing. So if it's autism, who understand autism, who understand meltdowns, who understand just the need for not creating sudden changes unnecessarily, that sort of stuff. Or if you've got kids that you're working with physical disabilities, to understand them. So, for me, it's just a joy to be able to help people and to get paid to do that. How blessed is that?
Yeah. So it's quite a big transition from going from teaching, which is your normal 9 to 5, earlier than that, I should say, really. It is a lot and it's intense. How did you make the jump from doing teaching into business? Like, what was the moment
the decision was made for me.
Yeah.
I get that. I didn't really have a lot of choice because many years ago, the first time I ran a business, it was a tutoring business. Again, always helping the strugglers. I do not care if someone's getting A's. I don't even want to talk to their parents. They're fine. I just want to help the kids who are having a hard time. So I ran a tutoring business for kids who struggled. And over a couple of years, we ended up looking after thousands and thousands of kids. That was a joy. But then I got tired of it. I got worn out by it, just like your support workers get worn out because people don't realise that caring for others wears you out. They think, it's fine. You just go home, have a sleep, get up the next day and do it. It's like if someone said, you, Sarah, being a mum's easy. Don't you just put them to bed and get up the next morning, it's fine? It's like, no. You get drained by it. You get tired from it. It's a difficult thing. So, that was tiring. Eventually I wrapped up the tutoring, went back to school teaching, and then I realised that, Sarah, you would not believe how many kids I've taught who have autism. And then once you start living in an autism world where you're looking after young people with autism, you're working with their parents, all that stuff, you realise it's actually a lot more fun than the real world, than the average neurotypical boring world. Okay, so now I can talk in Minecraft. I can enjoy what it is to live in autism, like a sea of helping people in that industry. And it's just a joy. That's all I can say. There's a lot of joy to be had.
I agree with you. I was talking to somebody out the other day about I couldn't imagine a world without neurodivergency, like having all these different types of neurodivergence walking around. Imagine how boring that would be, and the things that we wouldn't be able to innovate and create. That there for me, I think is really important that we do have variety as the key to life. And you're right, talking in Minecraft, talking and explaining topics in that way. Yeah, I get it. It sits with
And
me.
also understanding meltdowns. Like
Yeah.
most people don't understand that they think. I mean, your support workers, they're here because they know what a meltdown is. They know that the meltdown is not a tantrum. It's life's on track. A young person or whoever with autism, their emotional regulation skills are being really drawn on, so they can't just deal with peripheral issues. And then they'll either succeed at pulling out before the meltdown just kicks in, or they won't. And if they don't succeed at pulling out before the meltdown really hits, well, you know what? We're going to have a bit of a tough time for an hour. That's okay. We can decompress. We can chat about it again tomorrow, after when it's a brand new day. But like the world is a bright and shiny place, and we don't all have to act the same way for it to be. So
Yeah, I look 100%. Like for me, when it was supporting support workers, that meltdown behaviours of concern are actually communication at all points, and it is trying to figure out what the point is, where to get to it before it hits the high, and how to support somebody to be the best person possible within their realms. Like it's so complicated, but yet there's a lot of strategies that we do when we're supporting people with complex behaviours in the community that we just take for granted, and we forget we're doing them, and we're doing them naturally because we're trying to line somebody up to be their very best version.
and if part of being your
I can
very
see
best
my thing on
version is
circle. So
having a
what will
meltdown,
happen
having
in
a
our
hard
conversation
time,
just happened the other
struggling,
day with
and then
somebody
needing
else.
someone to come
So we'll
alongside
go
you and
back and
support you
forth,
through
but
it,
I can still hear you.
then so be it. Like
Can you still
that's
hear me?
no different to someone else having a hard day because they didn't have enough sleep, or someone else having a hard day because they didn't eat enough. We all have these times that are hard. So
You hear me,
what's really
Michael?
important is to be able to see the value and the importance of the support worker, what they're doing, their years of experience, and that they remember that they're not just ticking a box by turning up to work that day. They're not just providing care for that period of time. They're actually having a massive impact on someone's life, and they're doing something worthwhile. And it's very easy for people to lose sight of that in the midst of meltdowns, in the midst of other things in your life going well or not going well. It's just so easy to think that what you're doing doesn't matter. But what you're doing does matter, and it matters a lot. And so my encouragement to all your support workers would be just imagine for a moment what this young person's life would be like if you weren't there. And if there wasn't someone equally caring who's going to turn up and hang out with them and talk about Minecraft, because when you understand what that world looks like, you realise the work you're doing matters. Okay, and sometimes we get negative feedback from parents, or we have a week where there's a couple of meltdowns, we start to doubt ourselves. It doesn't mean that the work you're doing doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're not skilled at the work you're doing. Okay, it just means that there's been a tough time happen. That's okay. We'll deal with it. We'll grow through it. We'll get things set up.
The transition from tutoring to the NDIS was an easy no-brainer for you?
Well, you would think so, but the truth is it's not. There's no such thing as an easy transition. So for me, I did tutoring, and then I went back to school teaching when my tutoring business wrapped up, and then COVID hit. And what do you do when COVID hits? Well, you change. Like everyone rethinks their life when COVID hits. So that's what happened there. And then just when you thought, oh, well, life's stable now, I know what I'll be doing for a long time, the NDIS sort of has changed a bit since I started, to the point that it's very hard to run the sort of business that I was running. So I wrapped that up, and now I help other NDIS businesses with their marketing. I help them to shine on LinkedIn. I help them to shine on their websites and stuff like that. So again, change. So for your, say, 20-year-old or 25-year-old support workers to understand that they're going to have a lot of career changes, and it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you end up as long as you're helping people, because life is bigger than your job.
Yes, I agree with that, because sometimes we confuse our identity with our jobs, where they're completely two different things. I've suffered from that. I'll be the first to admit that. So how did you come up with the name of your company?
Well, Athletic Koala, I needed some. Initially, I was doing work in Australia and overseas, and I needed some way of demonstrating to people that, hey, this is not some marketing crew from Bangladesh, okay, or Pakistan. We're actually Australians. So I'm like, well, if I call it Athletic Koala, no Australian's going to think that someone from Pakistan came up with that name. So I call it Athletic Koala, and really I spend half my day helping people fix their websites. So say a support worker website. Your support worker website needs to show not just, hi, we do support work, like who cares? Your website needs to show, hi, here's how you choose a good support worker. One who's not on their phone the whole time. One who turns up on time. One who actually engages with you and puts up with your crazy grammar. Okay, so that's like good support worker versus bad support worker. Or you might have a website for a support worker where you're actually giving advice. Here's how you start a day well. Here's like 5 things that I do to de-escalate when you're in a robust house and things are starting to go really pear-shaped, or stuff like that. And then the other half of my life, Sarah, I spend training support workers and, to be honest, usually directors of companies or ops managers on how to use LinkedIn to show who you are, what you do. Because a lot of people use LinkedIn, Sarah, just like it's a giant ad. And it's probably the same with Facebook or Instagram, and that doesn't help. What's going through your head? I can see 3 thoughts going through your head.
I've got a bit. So I wanted to go back to websites because when I first started my business, I did the Shopify website and I had regret because I felt like I just had chucked money down the drain. Then I went to an AI to help me build my website from the scratch, from the bottom up. When I chat to support workers, and the best way that I discuss with them what would I do social media wise, websites tend to be not the first priority in discussions. I know it sounds really cheeky, but I do talk about building your reputation on LinkedIn, using a social media platform that suits you, whether that be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, Sarah, what would suit them. But then I go website, and then I find with support workers, it's really, once you have social media and if you're an independent, the website seems to be that extra more on top of it. When it comes to engagement, are websites in 2025 still useful?
That is such an intelligent question. So a different person is going to find you on your social media compared to on your website. So if you're looking to stay as an independent operator, you probably will get by with Instagram, Facebook, ideally LinkedIn. LinkedIn's what's working, and it's only going to get bigger in the next year. So what we saw with TikTok 2 years ago and to where TikTok is now, that's where LinkedIn will be 2 years from now. Like, it's just absolutely taking off. But if you want to be independent, you can get by with just one. And to be honest, half of what you do as an independent is your reputation in the real world, believe it or not, actually precedes you, and that's where you get work from. But as you start to scale up and you go, I'm actually going to run a support worker company, I'm going to bring some other people on, that's when your support coordinators are not going to trust your socials because they're not on them. Support coordinators are allergic to social media, particularly if it's something relevant in 2025. So to really capture their attention, you've got to point them to a website. And so all you do is you take those amazing posts that you are proud of from Facebook, Instagram, and most importantly, LinkedIn, and you put either that or very similar stuff on your website, because it's like your CV, Sarah. When was the last time you did a CV? It could be a while. How long since you've done your resume, Sarah? I like the look on your face. 10 years, 15 years.
Probably like 16, 17 years ago.
Well done.
And you're probably wondering why it was so long ago. And that was because I had an opportunity to work for a provider for a very long time, but also as agency. And my reputation got me where I got to, that I didn't require one.
Fantastic. So you just demonstrated that it works. Well done. Okay. So, someone who absolutely. So someone doing their CV or resume, they've got 2 options. Will I be plain and sensible, or will I stand out somehow? Okay. And if you are doing your resume, you actually do want to stand out. Otherwise, you just look like every other support worker. And so same with your website. You do want to be that little bit different, not weird different, just noticeable different. So if you want to scale and grow and have other staff with you, it is essential you have a website. It's essential you have a website ASAP. It doesn't have to be brilliant when you first start. Okay, I tend to work with people when they've got, say, 5 or 10 staff, to go from the rubbish that they started with that still did the job to something that they're going to be proud of, even after they've got, say, 20 staff. Okay, and what I do is I go, look, guys, let's have a look at your social media. Look at the amazing advice you're giving out there. Great, let's get that onto your website. So the days of having a website, Sarah, that says, hey, here's 5 reasons to choose us, full of stock photos of people at the beach with their hands in the air, or people, I saw this today, people at the park all holding hands in a circle. I'm like, that is so weird. If I saw that in real life, I would walk the other way. Something weird is happening there. But people are putting those sort of weird things on their website, and they think it gives them credibility. But instead, what if you just put a website that looks normal and goes, hi, we're support workers who specialize in helping young people with autism, or helping young people with intellectual disabilities, or emphasize on your website what it is that you do differently. Don't just say we help everyone. Be like, we help people particularly when they're dealing with this, and then fill it with advice around Like where are the local places where, say, if you're helping someone who have mobility issues, where are the local places that are super wheelchair accessible? Where's the restaurants that are wheelchair accessible? Where's the local areas that aren't going to involve stairs, aren't going to involve long distances from the car park? And start talking about that sort of stuff on your website, and then you'll have a website that looks different from everyone else's. And then suddenly you stand out, because that's the goal of a website or LinkedIn or whatever, is to be noticed. So we need to stop trying to be sensible and boring like everyone else. So yeah, your question, is it relevant? It's never been more relevant. Okay, if you want to grow. But if you just want to be a one-person band, stick to one social media and follow basically the doctrine of Sarah-ness, and just do everything you've seen Sarah do, just copy it, because it works.
Yep. I've been very lucky, I'll be honest with you, because social media has given me the opportunity to do things that I didn't think that I could do, or, had opened doors for me. But in saying that, I am very consistent as well. And my consistency is probably the reason why I have been able to achieve what I've achieved on social media. And that's just showing up every day.
Look at what you're doing, Sarah, and they think, oh, Sarah got lucky, or oh, Sarah started a hobby of podcasts or whatever. They don't see the hours behind it. They don't see that you sent me a message 2 days ago and said, hey, the person I was going to be put on the podcast has pulled out. Can you help me out? I'm like, sure, happy to help. They don't see that you turn up on time, that you sent that you pay a software subscription for this. They don't see any of that. They just see, oh, she's like living a life of an influencer. Yes, she is, but it's hard work, and it's probably an extra 10 hours a week. So if you're not sitting on the PlayStation.
Have a lot of time, but you do what you enjoy. And at this point in time, I eventually will be releasing something that when I release it, people got to know, like, and trust me, and they've got to buy in. And the only way that people will know, like, and trust me is if I turn up. That's the best way to be, is to consistently turn up.
That's exactly right. So anyone can say they're organised, but when you've got as many podcast episodes as you've got, when you've got as many frequent, you reply to people's messages, it's like with you, Sarah, you're not declaring that you're reliable, you're demonstrating it. And so when we were talking before about CVs versus, say, LinkedIn versus, say, a website, it's just about demonstrating you know your stuff, not saying you know your stuff.
Yep, and seeing it through. I think that's the biggest thing. I describe myself as Pantene.
Okay.
Doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen.
That is fantastic, and it's the truth, And the other thing is, you don't have to get it right all the time. You can stuff some things up. You just own it.
Have I stuffed up? I have stuffed up multiple things, and it's okay, because the best thing is, I think I've talked about this with you before, that when you do, especially in social media, websites and all that stuff, you can always just press delete and start again.
That's right.
It's that simple and that easy to do. Sorry, I've got completely
really
off track.
I like that you're off track. But the thing is, what you're actually talking about here is the fear that we all have that we look bad. So we're like, what if I look like an idiot when I put up a LinkedIn post about me? I don't know. Like, let's imagine I was working with, say, young person with autism. We're baking a cake today. I'm halfway through it, and then I've stuffed something up, or I've forgotten an ingredient, something. We got a meltdown happening. All right, I pressed stop on my video, which wasn't involving my participant, was just looking at the ingredients, and we're going to stop. And what do I do there? Do I look like I've failed because, I've forgotten an ingredient and now we've got a meltdown? No, that's just real life. So you just write on that video, you know what, we took a break here. We may or may not come back to this today, but we gave it a red hot crack and we built some skills. And we just be real. The other thing is, when you do stuff up, no one remembers the stuff ups. They remember if you dealt with the stuff up with integrity, or if you didn't. So stuff things up till the cows come home. Go for it and see what happens.
It's okay to be cringy. It's okay to be cringy. I have slid into more inboxes between Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'm okay with it. Because I've slid into inboxes, it meant that I got opportunities to do and collaborate with some really cool people. But it's okay to slide in and make an error and make a mistake. Like I said, just delete. But at least it's a crack that was given. Like, you gave it a go. You gave it a shot.
That's right. And it's like, you're not expecting everything to work. You just want something to work. And if we're going to talk about social media or something as a support worker, it's really about being courageous and saying something worth listening to. Because there's lots of people who are like, hi, this is me with my participant at the beach. Smile. It's like, who cares? Okay, that's different from say, turning up and going, hey, here's 5 things that go wrong for most support workers in their first year. Okay, and here's ways that the parents of those participants can predict those things going wrong and can do something about it to set them up for success. That sort of post works. The other thing is, have a crack at things. Like, Sarah, nobody really knew me except people in medium-sized businesses until I did something a bit silly on LinkedIn. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? What might it be that I did that was a bit silly on LinkedIn that actually worked out okay?
Was it a video? Because you've got quite a few.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened was one day, and this is not so long ago, I sat there on a Saturday morning, I thought, everything I'm doing on LinkedIn is plain and boring and sensible, like it should be. What if I just do something really silly? So I did a skit where I was a school teacher and I had to deal with the support worker and the support coordinator and the participant's mum and the psychologist and the OT, and they're all the children in my class, you know. Just being a school teacher, it's not hard to impersonate a school teacher. So, and then I just went, right, support worker, get off your phone. I already told you that. And I said, clinical psych, stop looking at yourself in the mirror. You know, we've got stuff to do. And then you're like, I don't know, OT, can you stop putting sticky tape on the chair? It's not going to injure her back. We're fine. And I did this really silly skit, and it went viral, like, or by LinkedIn standards, viral among people in NDIS provider businesses. And I went from no one to people whose names recognised me. So, sorry, people recognising my names. And then I made a series of, I think, 13 of those videos. You know, I did with everyone at the school camp. You know, that was great because, you know, the support workers all forgot the food. Or like the support workers in this show, they always stuff something up. It's because I know that support workers can take a joke. Okay, they're support workers. Or you know, if we go to the that's right. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be a support worker. You'd be a support coordinator. Let's be real. So I just make all these jokes at everyone's expense, and now I walk into rooms I've never been to before, and people I don't know come and say, "Oh, there you are," and they give me a hug, and I have no idea who they are. They think I recognise their face from the photo they've got from 2012 on LinkedIn. I have no idea, but I'm just like, I'm so glad to meet you. How can I help? I'm just delighted. So it's like that is a result of doing something really silly, and because of that, I now have more website work and stuff and LinkedIn work than I can poke a stick at. But it came from taking a risk and not being precious about how I'm perceived. So I would encourage your support workers. Yeah, sorry.
No, you know what's interesting? So I didn't do LinkedIn for a very long period of time because I put all my stuff onto Instagram. And then bit by bit, like, you know, slowly I would put something up. And one day I put something up about 10 truths NDIS participants would love to tell support workers, and it blew up. I had like, was it 25,000 impressions, a ridiculous amount of shares. And I didn't see that coming because this was just content that I would post normally on Instagram. I didn't expect it to blow up or to be shared or to be used like that. Like, that really surprised me.
And that worked because what you did was LinkedIn is becoming more like Instagram in that you're able to be authentic there. Go back a year ago, LinkedIn was just a job marketplace. Who went there unless they were feeling like a loser looking for a job? Whereas now LinkedIn is the place you go because you're sick of Facebook ads, and let's be honest, you can only do Instagram for so long before you run out of things to take selfies of. So LinkedIn's become that thing that's like, actually it's a combination of here's my work persona, but here's the real me behind it. And so what you did with that is you went, right, you brought in that authenticity, but you also, I'll bet you brought in some humor, and it's just an honest conversation. And that's why you want to be on LinkedIn, not showing off how good you are, but showing off the stuff up, showing off the hard days, not showing off, you know, your complete and total inadequacies. That won't help, but just being real about life because people love that. You know, so I think what you did there is great.
Yeah, I think I was taken back because, like, there is credit here because I like to test the water. And I like to see what different platforms, and I like to get the data and the analytics and put it together to figure out which one's going to get the message across. How am I going to get to the most support workers possible? And I realize that different platforms for different people. I get all that type of stuff in between. I feel like I'm still learning a bit about LinkedIn, but I did have this conversation the other day. I treat LinkedIn like my MySpace page.
Okay. Remember, about 1 in every 200 support workers know what we're talking about there, but I'm with you.
Yep.
Go for it.
MySpace? You never MySpaced?
I did back in the day, but my goodness, I must have been 17. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, when you think about it, right? So in MySpace, you got to pick the color background. So I call that my banner. I got to pick my colors in between of what's on my profile. I got to give myself a bio. Where same as MySpace, where we got to pick ourselves a bio, whether we put music in the things, whether, you know, we use emojis and all that stuff. In between, I do the same as I do on LinkedIn, which I dare say that if I had a MySpace page today, it would probably look like my LinkedIn. The only difference is I have no music in the background and I'm not rating people out of 10.
I think that is fantastic. And the thing is, you're talking about the creativity. And if you bring that to LinkedIn, you win. You see, what I'm noticing a lot, it'll say this is very valuable for a support worker who wants to grow their support worker business. I'm seeing a lot of support workers come to LinkedIn and then they try to do what you do on Instagram, which is to just show off you being you. Well, that's not helpful on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, people want you to turn up with some advice. Okay. So when you understand the rules of the game, the other thing is on Instagram, you can have a joke, have a laugh, be a bit casual. On Facebook, on Instagram or Facebook, you can do that. But on LinkedIn, it's like you do have a laugh, but it's like a chuckle because we're not there to sit around and have a party. If we want a party, we'll go back to Instagram. Okay, we're here to look at what skills can we grow in each other, how can we help each other. So what we've got to do is view LinkedIn as a giant cafe with 10,000 people in it, but you are connected to how many people you're connected to. So I'm connected to, say, 2,200 people. If you go back 6 months, I was connected to 300 people. But then it's not just to post on LinkedIn, hi, here's where you do such and such. It's also to send messages to people who are in your network. Hey, I saw you did a post about, you're having a hard time trying to do work from home. Here's a tip or two that I do like that. And you can leave even voicemails for people. And suddenly you go from being just a face who posts things like a pseudo wannabe celebrity to someone who's actually involved in people's lives. So someone lost their job the other day. I sent him a voicemail going, I hear you lost your job. I'm really sorry to hear that. Get in touch with so-and-so. I bet he'd love to have you on his team. And like someone else said, like there was a flood. She'd had a terrible time. You got to love living down in flood-prone areas. And, I was just saying, it's a hard time. My family were up in the cyclone that didn't really hit earlier in the year. And someone on LinkedIn reached out to me and said, hey, I know your family are up there. Do you want me to go around their place and check they're okay?
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and you don't get that on Facebook. You don't get that on Instagram, but you get that connection not from one person watching you forever, but from actually sending messages to each other. So that's where it stops being a platform of you showing stuff and starts being a place where you're interacting with people.
So I must say that when it came to LinkedIn, you are the master of DMs. What advice would you give support workers landing into somebody's DM?
It's like, whoa, slow down. Play the long game. If you were dating, you wouldn't do that. Okay. And if you're on LinkedIn, you wouldn't do that. Instead, you send a connection request. You go, hey, I see you and I both like watching Sarah's podcast. I think she's as crazy as you do, but the world needs 10 of her because she's changing the world. Okay. And or some sort of joke like that, right? People respond and then you just let that sit for 3 or 4 weeks. And then you find something they posted, you just mention it and go, hey, I liked your post about such and such. Thank you for doing that.
Because when I look back, I can see the messages that you've messaged me before. And I was like, oh, that's really lovely. Thank you. So you were marketing to me this whole entire time and I didn't even know it.
So the story with you, Sarah, is I looked on Instagram at, so what I'm telling you is what I would do if I was a support worker. But with you on not Instagram, on LinkedIn, I saw that you are giving intelligent advice that you didn't just pick up on ChatGPT. And I'm like, that is intelligent. She's fun. She's doing cool things. And I'm like, who do I know who needs Sarah in their lives? So initially, while I was watching what you do on LinkedIn, I was thinking, who do I know who needs Sarah? Because I know a couple of people. But the more I watched you on LinkedIn, the more I'm like, they're not going to listen to her because they're too set in their ways. But then I got to introduce you to some other people and send some people to you. I don't know if they make contact or whatever. But again, it's about the relationships. So it's like, yes, I hadn't actually thought about that until you just said it, but I did follow the formula. Set hello and then let things sit and then stay in touch every 3 or 4 weeks. Otherwise, you don't have a network on LinkedIn. You've got a bunch of strangers. And what I do with you on sorry?
Yeah, I agree because I'm very good at adding people in or, looking at profiles and think, oh, yeah, I'd really like to network with you. But that long game of actually talking, that's probably where I fail. I know it, because I don't really...
So talk to us about what's behind that, because then other people can relate and we can address that with them. Like, what is it that holds you back from having those conversations?
I think it's, for me, I was like, I think it's the starting part, because I know that if I go into any networking, I'm quite confident and I can go up to somebody and I can remember something about their business or something along the lines how we're connected. But when it comes to linking in and DMing people, it's like I don't know what to write. And then I'm trying not to sound sleazy because I feel like it can give you that sleazy dating vibe about it.
It's like, what are you
should I write
thinking?
something, permission to land into your DMs or something like that?
That's pretty quirky. I'll give it that. I mean, it's creative. A permission not granted.
No, people have done that to me, and I laughed the first few times. But then I realized when you're saying that there are people out there that's their job, I got that one quite a few times. So I realized somewhere along the line, someone's having a conversation with me in a call center, or I'm talking to a
That's
bot.
probably true. And I guess what you're talking about there is when people start using formulas for a self-serving way. So I spend about, this is going to sound crazy to support workers, but it's the truth. I spend about 15 hours a week on LinkedIn. That's insane.
Yep.
But that's where I get all my work from. And people like it when you turn up and actually add value and help them. And if someone was to move next door to the house next door to me and they were my new neighbours, what would I do? I wouldn't go and be like, hi, I'm your new neighbour. You know, I'd just, firstly, I'd wave at them. And then maybe a couple of days later, I'd take over a box of chocolates, say, welcome to the neighbourhood. And then I'd probably say, I'm so glad you moved in next door. Do you realise the house across the road has an old lady who's really lonely? And feel free to go and knock on her door anytime. She would be so happy just to have a cup of tea with you. And I go, the kids down the road, they're the same age as your kids. Can I introduce you to them? No worries. Here's their parents' number. And I'm not asking for anything. I'm just helping them. But if I look at my relationship with my next door neighbour, over the years, they've helped me so much. They helped me when my shower broke and didn't know how to solve it. They helped me when my fence was broken. They helped me all these times, but that help came out of already having been in a relationship with them and helping them 100 times, expecting nothing in return. And then one day you need a hand. And if you approach LinkedIn like that, you win. And if you approach with any other attitude, you'll do well for a little while, but people see through that. Like,
do you find that in our sector that because sometimes it's quite oversaturated at the moment, that people are opting not to collaborate with each other for the fear of losing people that we serve to another provider?
It's a percentage game. Yeah, it's definitely a percentage game. So I would have said 2 years ago that 40% of people in our industry were super collaborative. And now I would say in 2025, less than 20%. But I can look at that. Do we want to look at that with black hat or white hat? You know, like dark colored glasses or happy glasses? Because there's still 20% of people out there who will collaborate with you. You sent me a message yesterday, and today here I am on your podcast making sure that you're not without someone. And you've actually given me an opportunity to encourage a lot of support workers. You know, so I think the percentage has gone down, and it will keep going down because we're going to be more and more soaked with new providers and less work because NDIS is really tapering off, if we're honest. Okay, so we can't be put off by the fact there's less people collaborating. What it means is the people who are collaborating, they're the people who are always awesome. It's just they're still left standing. So, Sarah, sorry.
No, go.
Okay, well, I think of people like, say, Amy Gray. She's doing amazing things for support workers. She's written books for support workers, and she's very collaborative. I think of people like Stu Paul. He's a BDM in Sydney, a business development manager for a plan manager. I mean, since when do plan managers ever have someone cool representing them? And yet he does, you know. Or I think of, say, yourself, like, you're out there to help people, and yes, you run a business from it. But, I mean, honestly, there's easier ways to make money. Okay, let's be real. So I love what you're doing. And so you've got super collaborative people, and it doesn't matter if not everyone feels like that, because some people's jobs don't let them collaborate. They've been given, like, say, support coordinators are not known for their collaborative nature because they've got to do their 6.7 billable hours, otherwise their boss is at them. Or same with your allied health. They've got to do their billable hours, otherwise their boss is asking them to justify their job. So some people are off the table before you start, but then there's other people who are very collaborative. The question is, when someone's being collaborative, are they doing it for them or are they doing it for others? Because I think the way LinkedIn works or life works is you give out 100 points of helping others. Okay, I want to be a walking blessing to the world. And I don't expect to get 100 points back from Sarah. What I do expect is that 6 months from now, I'll average out probably 100 points back per day, because that's how the world works. So we just got to dodge the people who are pseudo-collaborative and focus on the people who are genuinely heartfelt collaborative. And I mean, just like you would in the real world. What's going through your head? I can see like 3 thoughts going through your head. What's going through your head?
No, I was just multiple things because, collaboration is key, but I believe that sometimes it's been easier for me to collaborate with people because there's no one in competition with me. And that sounds really silly, but I've been able to find a niche. And there are people out there that support workers, but I take a different angle. And I haven't seen anyone take that probably Instagram angle of it. I see it very professional, very to the core, like professional, really, where I'm probably a little bit more laid back in how I deliver things because they are my boss babes and my brats.
That's right. And you've got that relationship with them. That's a very Instagram style of relating to people. But you can still bring that same style to LinkedIn. The difference is when you turn up there, you may not call them babes and brats, but you'll call them friends. But you'll mean it in the same way that but I mean, you're right. And the other thing is there's actually competition nowhere. When you think how many participants there are in Australia and how many support workers there are, honestly, there is no competition. I was at a conference last week, and at that conference were myself and two other guys who pretty much do similar stuff to me. The three of us got on so well because when you think about it, all three of us, we understand each other's world. How stupid would it be to compete with each other? Because, I mean, heck, there's three of us in a room of 60. If we're going to have trouble finding another client, there's something wrong with us. So, and you find people like that. As soon as you can sense that someone is being about them, not the team, look, they're not the people you want to hang with long term. They're people you want to be with for the season. You don't want to be like alienating them. But at the end of the day, Sarah, people like you are going to be surrounded by 100 people in 3 years' time, even if you didn't do a post, because people remember that you looked out for them. The other thing is whether you're on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, just connecting people. So one of my clients is a recruitment guy, whatever you call it, people who recruit people. And I introduced him to another recruitment person because I trust her. I introduced them and they've started their own collaborative thing. But you look at that, it's like, well, one, they both went, the pie's big enough for all of us. But two is, all I did was send one message to both of them. It took me 60 seconds and they both are so grateful. They'd walk on hot coals for me. But I didn't do much, just sent a message. So it's like, what can I do to help someone? You know, that's the sort of thing that goes through your head. And am I willing to put in the time? So I'm willing to put in 15 hours a week. If I was a support worker, I might put in 90 minutes a week or 60 minutes per week. Or if I was a stretch support worker, I might put in 15. But how can I use that time to help others, not just promote myself?
Well, that's interesting you say that, because when I talk to independents, support workers, business owners on the gram, when it comes to LinkedIn, I will say to people that if you can spend maybe 5-10 minutes a day scrolling and liking people's comments, responding, it will go a long way, because you've gone out of their way to like something. And I think I forget how big at times Instagram has grown and the impact that I have, because I have liked people's posts in the past, and I will get somebody messaging me going, "Thank you so much for liking my post." And I was like, and taken back, because I was like, "Oh, it's a really good post. I really enjoy that content." I didn't think of it like that, if that made any sense.
It makes so much sense. And there's even a formula, because not everyone is as bold as you come across as. I don't know if you always feel that bold, but you certainly come across as bold and confident, whatever. So the formula for someone who's first starting, it's probably a little bit different to Instagram. Okay, the formula would be, say if Sarah put up, 5 ways to do a podcast really well, and I read it and went, wow, I can learn from that, because I do a podcast as well. And my podcast is a lot more sane and sensible and, I guess, brain powered instead of like heartfelt. Yours is heart, mine's brain, okay? Because that's just the people I work for. So, but if you were talking about how to get heart into a brainy podcast, I'd be reading that going, that's amazing, I needed that. So the formula for a comment that I might put back is something like, thank you, Sarah, or I agree, Sarah, full stop, and then just one sentence that shows what I got out of that. I'll be like, you're right, I am actually a bit brain focused. I'm going to think this through. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And it's just, it's so short. But what would be going through your head if someone actually wrote that publicly validating what you're saying? What would be going through your head?
Thoughts. Yep. 100 things. Yep. And I think we do get taken back when people do respond, because you're surprised. Because the other day I had somebody, I saw this content and I thought, God, bloody good content. Like, that's really impressive. And I liked it. And then straight away I got a message, hey, I saw that you were in Geelong. When you're in Geelong next time, swing by. And I responded back going, yeah, love to meet up with you and your crew. And then the next response, I kid you not, was, I can't believe you responded. And then I was like, what? I was like, I thought this is a business account that would take, a couple of days to respond. And I was like, no, it's just me. It's just all me running this account. There's nobody overseas overseeing my account. It's just Sarah. So it's human.
I think that's magic. I think it's so good. But the other thing is, a lot of people are scared to actually send a message to someone because they're like, I don't know how the stats work on Instagram, whatever, but on LinkedIn, when someone's got, say, I don't know, 1,500 connections, you know that they put a lot of time into building those. You assume that they know their stuff, right? And so it's very easy to be intimidated out of sending something to them. But you know what? They're just as lonely as you are. Okay, they drink the same alcohol to decompress on a Friday afternoon at the pub that you drink. Okay, they have kids who have meltdowns. They are no different to you, and particularly they need compliments as much as you do because they're giving out. And so, who's going to respond negatively to a compliment or an invite? And I mean, it is a big deal for you to catch up with them. That will take an hour of your day. And if someone doesn't want to spend that hour meeting people they don't know very well, then the least they can do is say send a PDF file of some tips or refer them to a video. I did a video about 2 months ago exactly about the sort of thing you guys do. I'll flick that to them. There's ways you can help people that are low maintenance as well. But I think it's just having the courage and the self-confidence to go, they may reject me, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. And there's people who've rejected effectively me, like they just do not respond to anything I do when I know they respond to other people. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm obviously not one of their people. Friendship is a choice, and they've made a choice, and I'm okay with that. So, but no, I just would encourage them to be bold. Give it a crack. What do you lose?
No, I'm just thinking of something because I've been deep diving on something the last couple of days on a topic that I didn't realize, and you're probably doing the same. We've actually created our own PayPal Mafia. Have you heard about the PayPal Mafia?
Tell me about the PayPal Mafia.
The PayPal Mafia. So the beginning of PayPal actually had all the founders of LinkedIn, YouTube, and Elon Musk are all part of the PayPal Mafia. So it's a group of people that have come together to create PayPal. I sort of think I was toying with this content idea the other day, thinking, gosh, have I gone along and connected with people on purpose to be a part of a PayPal Mafia? Like, have I created some PayPal Mafia people? I didn't realize this.
You have, yeah. Well done.
Also, you too, but how important is to have people around, or to choose people to be a part of your mafia? I know it sounds really weird.
But it's not just that. People who actually care.
People to be a part of your mafia.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the AFP mightn't take too well to that, but the rest of the world will be like, that's actually really cool. Because when you think about it, it's like you choose who's in your circle. So I talk to some people who have some enormous accounts that other people might be like, oh, I can't talk to that person. They got 5,000 connections on LinkedIn, which in LinkedIn world is like saying 500,000. Okay. But I'm also the same guy who'll message back and forth with them, and then I'll look at my watch and go, mate, it's 6:30 on a Friday afternoon. Are you going home to your kids, or are you going to be like a workaholic? You know, you're an employee. Go home. And I'll just have those conversations a bit more subtly, a bit more gentle, but because I actually care about these people. So if you're going to have your own PayPal Mafia, make sure that they're nice and make sure they're looking out for you. And then I guess that takes a bit of mafia out of it, doesn't it?
The reason why they called it the PayPal Mafia is because of the photo that they had was quite iconic at the time. Where you've got all these guys in like this, in Australia we call it a pub, but I think they call it a lounge, and they're all wearing their dark clothes and they're sitting ever so suspiciously. So that's how they got the nickname. But
isn't that funny? That could be like your support worker mafia. They're all sitting around on their phones at the shops waiting for their participant to come back out of the shop.
Well, there's Michael. There's a lot more to that than support workers being on their phone. Sometimes
I'm just being a goose because I can. And that's the thing. Like, you're allowed to be a bit of a goose on LinkedIn or whatever because you and I both know how hard support workers work. And it almost buys you the right to be a bit silly. Okay? So, I
was talking to somebody about this. So with all the marketing that you got, because we have in the people game, we have to turn up to be around people. And one of your best, if not, this is my hot tip. Anyone who's going to take anything from this tonight, it would be that support workers are your best marketing.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. Do you want to elaborate on that for people? Because it's the truth.
Yeah. So these are the people that turn up to your door. So the very first time that you meet somebody from your company might be the support worker that turns up. So you open the door, you see the big grin, they're talking about your day. The skills that come along with that, like, how to hold a conversation, how to treat somebody, to communicate, listening, all those skills come in between, right? But then it might be that you guys are going to the local grocery shop to go get the shopping. It's in between that when you're out in the community, how people proceed. Because remember, at the end of the day, our communities in the NDIS sector are quite small. That being so small, people forget that everybody knows everybody. And you could be going down to the supermarket and somebody might know the person that you provide care to because they're from the local community. So you're doing some advertisement as a support worker being in that supermarket and you're not even realizing it. How you act, how you interact with the person that we serve. So best ones by far. And then at the end of the day, good news, when I say good news, when people like good support workers, they talk about it because they're like, hey, I had this support worker, this person was really amazing. And any given time that I had any conversations with support coordinators, it was always about the support worker that I had that had availability. That was the trick. That was it. It was never I could do swimming, bowling, rock climbing. It was never those activities. It was the people that I had that would turn up for others. They were the selling
I
point.
love that. I love it. And the other thing is, people who are having a hard time having a crack at support workers, obviously I do it in jest, but a lot of people do it out of like this weird anger. It's because they don't realize, yeah, you're looking at your phone because you're decompressing because you just sat through a half-hour meltdown. Or yeah, you're looking on your phone because you're worn out because this is your second shift of 4 hours today and you just wanted some space. Just like, say, you're at the in-laws Christmas party. Like sometimes you just want some space. Well, maybe that's your day if you're a support worker that day. And I mean, people will cut you slack because they see how you interact with people. And there's also a limit to how much interacting you can do with someone who's really just, they've been talking to you for 3 hours. They need their own space.
Yeah.
Like, what's that about? Like, people will have a lot of grace for you if they can see your motives and your intentions. And your motives and intentions leak out of you without you even knowing it. Like, even as you and I are chatting, I know that I would trust you with my keys, my kids, I don't know, my fishing rod, my golf clubs, if I was into that. It's like, because I just know you. Like, I know that you care about people and it's not because of your persona, it's because I've met you again and again and again. Okay. And eventually the truth always wins. It's not the perception. So
100%.
I just think,
Yes.
yeah, any support worker who doesn't realize how easy it is to get work, if they are good at their craft, guys, the world needs you. All you have to do is turn up and go, hey, I'm a support worker and I actually love helping people have their best day. That's what I'm here for.
Do you know
And if you can tell me
what
how
I
to help,
find
yeah, go
intriguing
for it.
is that I
What's that?
actually know support workers that don't have any social media presence. They don't have websites, Facebook, Instagram. They're not posting, but yet they have a full roster. And
How
that
good
is
is that?
purely because they've been able to network themselves with people. It started with one person and then it snowballed itself to others. And then what they got was a really good support coordinator that backs them 110%. And everything flowed from there. They don't all have to advertise
That's
any
right.
bit of their service. It just comes naturally to them because they're really good at their niche.
That's right. And because they wholeheartedly did a good job, and
Yeah.
people didn't view them as, oh, that's the person who did a good job one day. They view them as, that's the person who's capable of doing a good job and who cares. And everyone has that advocate, right? So there's people I work with who've sent me multiple new clients. Okay, and sometimes I work for 3-person companies, and sometimes I work for really big companies. I can tell you what's more fun. It's not the big ones, but anyway, that's another story. So I get to meet and work with all these people because someone said you need to talk to Michael Clarke, and it's like, they would never have heard of Michael Clarke. They might not even be on LinkedIn, but someone recommended it, and there you go. So if I was starting out today as a brand new support worker, okay, and if I had no social media, anything, and no website, and it was just me, I would go and I would meet a few people, and I would just do my best work for those first few jobs, and then I would be bold enough, though, at the end of doing some consistent work with people to say, do you know what? I love working with Jonathan here. He is a champion, and it makes my day to hang out with him. If you know anyone else who's like Jonathan, and list off some of his quirks and the joy he brings, who's like Jonathan, that loves Minecraft, has some hard days, but also just loves life, please let them know that I'd love to help, because if my world was filled with people like Jonathan, I'd be a very happy camper. And what would you say if you were a mum and someone came and said that to you? You'd be like, absolutely. You'd be like, sure, happy to help. And then you'd also be like, but not too much because I don't want to lose this person. Okay, but either way, you would be happy to promote them because
You'd be
that
more
what they do is
intrigued
valuable.
by it, wouldn't you? You'd be more entertained to follow it through. If I was to start as an independent tomorrow, what would I do? And you touched on it briefly, and it made me think, if I had to start again tomorrow, what would I do?
What do you think you'd do? What would be your
I
first
think
thought on that?
I would follow the demographic that I want to work with. So if I knew that my people that I want to work with are women in their 50s, I'd go Facebook. If I wanted to work with millennials, I'd go Instagram. If I wanted to work the one below us, I think
That's
they're
really
the
cool.
Gen Zs,
Yep, what
I would go
else?
TikTok. And then I'd
Okay,
pick one of them, and then I'd follow through with LinkedIn, because that's where all the business owners actually are, not their VAs.
that's right.
I would
love how
definitely
you
go
think.
I would go to networking meetings. Yep, I would do the Able Plusters. I would do the community ones. I would talk I wouldn't own the table. I would go around and talk to each area and have that conversation. I think that's how I would start. What would you do, Michael?
I think if you did that, you would win. But I think you're doing
Yeah.
that on the basis of already having a very big skill set that a lot of support workers in their 20s might not yet have.
Yeah.
But obviously, that would be a very effective way to grow and scale. If I was a one-person band, I'd go and bake a whole bunch of cakes and cupcakes. And then I would take those cakes and cupcakes to all the people who might employ me or
Yeah.
might recommend me. And I would
Yeah.
give them those cakes and cupcakes. And you know what else I'd do? I'd involve my daughter in those cakes and cupcakes. And I'd go, hey, I bake these cakes and cupcakes with my daughter. I use that as an opportunity to build her capacity in kitchen confidence or whatever you call it, fancy words around I help her. And you know what? My daughter and I really wanted you to have these. I hope you enjoy these cupcakes. Have a nice day. And if you do that
I
to
feel
one
like
person, nothing will
yeah.
happen. Sorry?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking that's more efficient than sending an email saying I've got capacity.
No one loves an email more than one that says I've got capacity. Like, really? In
Oh,
other
I
words, you're
hate it.
desperate. Great.
There's nothing
It's
that they go to
fantastic.
the junk mail. I don't feel like it's real. Like I don't know.
Because
One
it's
part of me was
not.
like, should I was really tempted to trial it. Like, should I try? I've got capacity. Follow it in with an actual clip of myself to say, I'm Sarah. I'm a support worker and I've got capacity. Would that hit differently than just words? I haven't tried it.
If you were going to use email to reach people, you'd put a 30-second video of you talking in the email. It'd say, yeah, it'd be like, hi, I'm Sarah. Here's 30 seconds of something that you would not believe what I'm talking about. And then you just go, hi, I'm Sarah. I eat too much cake. I wear a lot of pink. I talk a lot about support workers, and I've got a puppy. Anyway, I also live in the real world where my participants need a hand, and if you need a hand, here's my number. Like, imagine. That's a lot more interesting than email, isn't it?
But if anyone's listening to this right now and have done the following, where you've put a message, like a video message into an email, can you please tag us? We want to know. I want to know if it works. And if it works, please let me know. I'm just giving some, no. I'm so nosy
I'll tell you what I want
that.
to know. It's like anyone who goes and bakes cupcakes and gives it to, let's make it 15 people who could employ them. And if you don't get a job out of that, I want to know, and I'll post you a box of chocolates. Just to say, whoops, sorry, my advice doesn't work 1% of the time, and you're in that 1%, I'm so sorry. Have some chocolates. It'll make your day. Okay? Because honestly, you and I know there's 100 ways to get from where you are as a support worker to where you want to go. But really, it's going to be trial and error, and some people would speak terribly on video. That's right. Yep. Whereas you and I love video, or some people would be terrible at baking. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe they were about to employ me and then they taste that cake and go, oh my goodness, is it him or his daughter? Someone's bad at baking. I'm not employing that person. But you got to see what works for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hope somebody responds.
Well, they either will or they won't. But if we look at what the action steps are.
I want to see it. I love this stuff.
I do too. Me too. I hope I don't have to do too much baking.
Stuff. I got completely off topic. You've actually got a course available.
I do. It sounds a bit crazy. Okay, so what happened was I work for a lot of people who pay me a lot more than I'm worth to help them with their LinkedIn. Okay, because when you think about it, when someone gets a new client through LinkedIn, some of those new clients are worth to these people I work for $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, depending on what part of the NDS they're in. So they'll happily pay me to do that. And then I'm like, what I actually want to do is make it so that LinkedIn is a place that is joyful and happy. Okay, that's what I want, because I want to go to, it's sort of like a small workplace. I want to go somewhere nice. And so I thought there are specific actions you can take that make it so that everyone wants to hang out with you on LinkedIn. Okay, like I do a few connection requests, but the truth is they come back to me 5 times faster than I can get them out. And I'll bet it's the same with you, because I've done a few things right. And I sort of think I know a couple of support workers in their early 20s who are struggling to get work. And I think they could fix that very easily. So I made a course that is huge that that people with way more money than they need to have pay me to do in the huge thing. But I've also got, there's a $2,000 version, there's a $4,000 version, and then I've got a $49 version. And that $49, honestly, there's a lot easier ways to earn $49 than to make a course. But imagine how many young people in their 20s can learn how to use LinkedIn to get their next clients, their next participants. And not just that, while they're doing it, they're building their resume so that their next job is 20 grand more a year. And the one after that's another 20 grand more a year. because we don't want to just be thinking this job if we're in our 20s. We want to be thinking, where are we off to next and next and next? And what LinkedIn does is it demonstrates the whole world that you are credible. So that when two people come for a job, one person has a massive LinkedIn presence and the other person doesn't know how to spell LinkedIn. And one person walks away with a 20 grand extra job offer and the other person has to take the base rate. So I've got a course, and if people want to find it, it's at athletickoala.com.au, or they can just send you a message and you'll put them in touch with me, Michael Clarke.
Add it into the show notes for everyone that's interested in doing the course. You just click the link.
Go and do it.
Easy. Done.
It's
Just
so
like that.
silly. And people made fun of me, to be honest, when I did it. They said,
Really?
what are you doing? A $49 course, Michael? Do you realize that makes you look like you're cheap and nasty? I'm like, I don't care. Why would I not? I know, but why would I not? There are support workers out there who can't afford $2,000. I can tell you that straight out. But why would you not equip people?
Courses, Michael, for less than $49. And I'm with you with that because, they don't earn big bucks. Like, you don't get big money from working as a support worker. So making it easy, making it fair so you can be able to achieve, why not?
Absolutely. And the other thing is, if someone doesn't have $49, then just go and find Michael Clarke on LinkedIn and just look back through my last 47,000 posts and don't do a course.
Yep.
I don't mind. Just
Yep.
go and learn something. And because if you're going to put, say, an hour a week into LinkedIn, I could achieve in 5 minutes what most people could achieve in an hour because I've been doing it so long. So if you can learn how to do something quickly, then you can spend more time on the Xbox or with your kids, okay, or whatever it is that you love to do. So I would encourage anyone to do. Basically, I didn't know you have courses, otherwise I would have done them by now, Sarah. But I'd encourage people to learn efficiently so they can spend their time doing what they really love, which is not talking about their work.
Yeah, no, that was, for me, it's about accessibility and having much information for support workers as accessible as possible. So I went down the course road. I still have them on the website. I still do them every now and again, but I have been swaying towards YouTube because I want to be able to reach more people and give them as much information as possible, to be honest, so they'll be able to feel confident in their job.
Absolutely. It's a tough one. Some people learn by courses and some people learn by just scrolling and some people learn by going and hanging out with experts. And it doesn't matter how you do it, but we want to be learning. So one of the things that people would have a go at support workers for is they act like support workers are not constantly upskilling. I don't know whether they live in Disneyland or whatever, but support workers are constantly upskilling. But if you're going to upskill in the skills that matter, not just how can I support this person better, because let's be honest, you're getting on-the-job training all day, every day. The skills you want to get are, how do I go from here to my next job? How do I learn to negotiate well with people? Because that leads to more money.
When you talk about skill building, it's other things as well, because I remember being a 20-year-old living at home with mum and dad, never knowing how to use a washing machine or a dishwasher. I'm going to admit all these things. I'm cooking very bare basics. It's because I worked in the disability sector that I actually upskilled when it came to activities of daily living for myself. So there were all these things that I had learned as I went along. But as I've been doing the support worker store, I have been doing my best to upskill in areas that aren't always disability related. I am doing at the moment a couple of things down the personal branding because I'd like to teach a bit more of it for support workers on how to be your own personal brand in this sector on social media. That I think is really important because that gets more people to, to see your profile, to see you as somebody that's known, liked, and trusted.
But that's actually the side effect of us just helping people. So if whatever you're producing is helpful to people and making them think or just insightful somehow, they're going to choose you anyway. But instead of you feeling like a salesman, feeling crap at life, you just feel great because all you did was help people. And
but also you can have fun with it. Like I have a lot of fun in social media. Some of the ideas and concepts that I come up with, like the other day, it was May the 4th. So I was like, well, I'll turn myself into an alien and I'll talk about Yodas. I'll talk about all these type of things in between because it's May the 4th. Everybody is a Luke at one point and needs a mentor. So you can make content for this sector. And people even ask me, like, how do you come up with consistent content? Like, you just seem to be able to put it together so quickly. And that's because it's what I see and what I read and, all these itsy bitsy things in between that I know that I can move and change that for people to enjoy. I don't know, maybe it's just a knack.
Well, people say it's a knack. It's probably an outcome of the fact that you've done it literally 20,000 times before. After 20,000 posts, it's not hard to do another.
Michael, do you find it fun? Because I have a lot of fun with it. Because I was like, if I'm going to enjoy that, there's going to be another Sarah Likeable somewhere that will enjoy this content as well.
There is, and you're chatting with him. Okay, so I've got this thing where I've realized I'm actually addicted to spending time on LinkedIn because it's so much fun. The real world, I don't know. In the real world, people actually have demands of you. In LinkedIn, it's like watch me put a pen in the pen lid. Wow, 10 people clap, 47 people comment, and 3 people repost it. Michael achieved putting his pen away so it didn't dry. It's like, why do I want to go to the real world? So yeah, I'm with you. It's so much fun. But it's fun because you and I, we're not turning up needy. We're turning up knowledgeable, willing to help. We're there to serve.
Willing to serve.
Be there to serve. Like you're not there to be needy. You're not there to get. You just serve, and the getting will happen as a byproduct.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
I agree with that.
I love your work, Sarah. I think everything you stand for is so good. Your niche is over here in support worker world, and the support workers need that because I think if we're honest, there's a lot of discouragement among support workers. There's a lot of being treated like you're actually the doorman or the taxi driver or the nobody that people want to act like you are. But it's like
the most. Like
they do.
Any time I have built, there's been probably I've done it 3 times. 1 a beginning build and 2 rebuilds, and I will tell you the first spot I do all the time always went to was the support worker first. That is your quickest fix for any business. Having skilled, trained support workers that are confident enough to do their job.
Yep, and who really want to be there. And it doesn't matter if someone treats you like you're the doorman or the garbage collector. It doesn't matter if someone treats you like that. What matters is you turned up to work, you served someone, you got them through their day. They may or may not have learned something from you that day, but they got through their day. You served wholeheartedly. Like all of us one day will be at our own funeral. And honestly, all your LinkedIn people won't be there. It'll just be you and your family and whoever you face after when you hit the next life. And in that day, I don't want to turn up and go, right, I just served myself the whole time, 70 years of doing nothing but serving myself. I want to be able in that day to be able to face my maker and to be like, I did a lot of things really stupidly. I also gave it my best crack. What can I say? That was a life well lived, a life I'm proud of. I don't want to in that day be turning up going, I wasted my own life doing everything for me, because that to me is like the ultimate waste of a life.
I agree. Yeah. So, sorry, we went really deep on this podcast.
We sure did.
I had like a full set of questions and I threw it away. Probably question 2 because I realized that we would just be doing our own thing. Is there anything that I haven't spoken about when it comes to your business, Michael, or what you do and what you're bringing to the table? Is there anything in the future that's happening that you'd like to tell the audience?
I think the one thing that matters most is for support workers to understand their value and to not get their value from the amount they're being paid, to not get their value from what the media says, to not get their value from what NDIA does, and to not get their value from how the day went. I think it's important for people to realise that zoom out, don't look at the day, look at the month, look at the year, look at the decade, and realise you're doing something noble and worthwhile and helpful. 10 out of 10. Yep. Whether people notice, whether they cheer, whether they don't. 10 out of 10. Yep. Every single support worker watching this, you need to know that. Because when you realise the value you're having, there should be 0 support workers in Australia who have a low self-esteem. 0. Because what you're doing is so damn important. So I think that would be the one thing that's most important for people to know.
So if anyone was to reach out for you for a website, for your course, for some coaching, what is the best way to contact you? Yep. And they can add you onto LinkedIn.
I'll add them into my LinkedIn people because why not? Every now and then, you know how you see people who are just all about them. You're like, I don't know that. But I want lots of people around me who are going to learn from me, who I can learn from too. So, yeah, if you find me on LinkedIn, look for Michael Clarke. If there's too many Michael Clarkes, look for Athletic Koala. It's easy to find, okay? And then you'll find me.
You're right. You have a name that's very common.
Let's just say it's not hard to SEO a website with a name like Athletic Koala. You're not competing against Coca-Cola, okay? There are some weird, quirky advantages, but the truth is, Sarah, I think your people are doing important things. And the other thing is, I'd encourage anyone who's sitting there as a support worker today, who's just having a crap time and going, do I actually want to be in this game? To send Sarah a message and go, hey, I'm having a crap time. And when you were chatting with Michael, he said that you respond to me. What do I do in this situation? Because, Sarah, that's where the real relationship happens. It doesn't happen on a good day. It happens on a crap day.
Yep. And we're all here for each other because at the end of I was talking about this the other day, totally off topic, but the amount of people that are on the NDIS could build the MCG 7 times now.
My goodness, we're going to need a lot more support workers, aren't we?
Yep, I think it was
wow.
26,000 short.
Well, that tells you that the work is out there. Go find it. It is out there. But Sarah, what you're doing matters, and you're building a relationship. I appreciate you. I acknowledge that there are 100 people you could chat to who have a lot more experience as a support worker than I do. But
This
it's
is
been a
the
joy
fun
to hang
part.
out.
I thoroughly enjoy. Now, to be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoy putting people onto this platform because it's about having a variety of different opinions and different backgrounds to come from to be here. So yeah, the variety of people that I've got to interview so far has been nothing but amazing and incredibly entertaining for me because I get to ask questions that as a support worker at times I never got to ask somebody. Like I never got to ask business coaches or website designers, speechies, OTs, other people in the sector these questions. And I find that on this podcast are people more willing to have these conversations and willing to talk about it and not shy away from it.
They really are. Absolutely. And just remember, if you need a support worker who has capacity, she'll be happy to help. Okay. So we're good. Good on you, Sarah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
And you have a good one. I'll chat with you again sometime.
All right, cheers, mate. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.